Senator, I know you have to leave momentarily, and so I want to close with one last grouping here, and I think it's an important one because it gets very much at the whole notion of why our institute exists, and one of the big points you brought up at the conclusion of your remarks, and that's how do we get this done? Ari Shapiro, a sophomore in the School of Foreign Service, says asked with a Republican majority in both houses, would you be willing to compromise some of your ideals to get your most important plans passed? And Kumail Aslam, a freshman from San Francisco, writes, my question is, how do you plan on implementing your social programs given the immense opposition in Congress?
Okay, great questions. Look, when you are in Congress, by definition, you compromise every day. And you all should know that when I was in the House of Representatives, and I was there for 16 years, on certain years, I ended up getting more amendments passed on the floor of the House than any other member of Congress. Because when there was an issue out there that I could work with Republicans on, and they were in the majority, we put together a pretty good coalition. Just 2 years ago, I worked as chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. I work with people like Republicans like John McCain in the Senate and people like Congressman Jeff Miller over in the House, who's chairman of the Veterans Committee there, to put together the most comprehensive veterans health care bill passed in recent memory. So yes, I can compromise. But here is the point that I want to make. On many of the issues that I have talked about, virtually all of them, these are not radical extremist ideas. I am not coming before the American people and say, look, I am this radical, wild-eyed socialist, crazy ideas, but listen to me, you know, that's not the issue. Look at the issues. We want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Raising the minimum wage, widely popular. I want to create 13 million jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, wildly popular. Pay equity for women workers, wildly popular. Making there it is, popular right here, all right. Making public colleges and universities tuition-free and lowering student debt, widely popular. Combating climate change. There are some Republicans who still don't accept it, but most Americans do, all right? Asking the rich to stop paying their fair share of taxes. Vast majority of the Americans think that that's right. So here's my point. Here's my point. The real question is, sure, you've got to compromise, but the really more important point is, why is Congress so far out of touch with where the American people are at? The Republican agenda is, among other things, to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and give huge tax breaks to billionaires, and to ignore the planetary crisis of climate change. How many people believe in that agenda? I don't know, 5%, 10%, surely a very small minority of people. So when I talk about the political revolution, when I talk about transforming American politics, what I am talking about is bringing in the voices of millions and millions of people who have given up on the political process, to have their views and their needs being heard by Congress. When that happens, everything that I talked about will be passed. If that does not happen, virtually nothing will be passed. So what this campaign, from my perspective, is about, and I say this in every speech that I give, it's not just electing Bernie Sanders to be president. I surely would appreciate your support. But very honestly, it is much more than that, because no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can implement the kinds of changes we need in this country unless millions of people begin to stand up and fight back. And I think right here on college campuses all over this country, we're beginning to see that fight back. We're beginning to see that fight back among low-wage workers who are going out into the streets and saying, you know what, we can't make it on $8 or $9 an hour. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We are beginning to see that movement develop. And I hope you will be part of that movement, because if you are, we can, in fact, transform this country. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.